You guys, the sometimes dreaded, sometimes exciting, sometimes best day that people are looking forward to, a day that sometimes haunts us is coming up. And that is Valentine's Day.
Yes, agreed. Valentine's Day.
And we have our pink expert, of course, here to talk about Valentine's Day.
Happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
And
My
Torian
pod bestie.
Princess.
Yes, of course. Torian Queen.
Torian Queen.
Or Princess. I don't know, whichever you prefer. Both. Empress.
Both. All of it.
Either one.
Pod bestie, Chelsea Griffin Appiah, here to talk about love with us. And a couple weeks ago, I think it was like we were like having a little after Christmas get together because there was all this stuff going on. Or like we were sick and you guys were sick and it was a whole thing and we couldn't see each other for some reason. But you and Kwame came over after Christmas and we had a little catch up. And I was like kind of a little bit preoccupied with Galileo, but I kind of would like part into the conversation and peek into the conversation with you and my mom talking about like what Valentine's Day means to you. And I actually have to like apologize publicly for falling asleep. Calling it Tiffany Brown.
When she was putting the baby to sleep. When your friend has a baby, you just have to get used to just saying goodbye to them via text if they go and put the baby down and fall asleep.
I literally fell asleep with Galileo. And I don't even know how long you guys were here after I fell asleep, but just I apologize again publicly.
We're hanging out.
I saw Chelsea on the couch over there, and then I was like, is she waiting for something? Or does she know what's happening? Or what's going on? Because I didn't know that she didn't know that you had fallen asleep or whatever.
It's all family around here.
Yeah, that's when you know you're like really close friends, right?
Yes.
So Valentine's Day is just one of those things that, like kind of I said earlier, can kind of cause some dread for you. Like I think I had like some trauma around Valentine's Day. Like I remember like in junior high and high school, like having anxiety. Like was I going to get flowers? Was I going to get balloons or a card from someone? And it, like weird pressure to have a date on Valentine's Day, or like even if like you're kind of just started dating someone, you're like, are you going to hang out on Valentine's Day?
The expectations.
Yeah, it's even as a mom, like how could I deter you from feeling that way?
Yeah,
like, what could I do to prevent that feeling? Because I know being a teacher, how kids just come to school and they flaunt all their teddy bears. Like it's a whole thing, and it makes me.
Yeah, there's a definite societal component to Valentine's Day and to why it might be perceived or we might have negative feelings towards it. And that's what I don't love about it. And so a few years back, I was like, I told someone like Valentine's Day is my favorite. I mean, we can state the obvious. It's pink, it's hearts, it's girly. Does it scream Chelsea all over it? Absolutely. But I would say it's like one of my favorite holidays. And my friends would be like, oh, why? And like, give me a disgusted look. And I asked myself that year after year, I was like, why do people feel this way? And yes, it could be based on many things, societal pressures, expectations, whether you're coupled, whether you're not, what that means. But really, I see Valentine's Day and this month as my month to refresh, refocus on my love of myself, on self-love. Granted, yes, I'm married and I'm happy and I'm in love and I receive. But like you said, Bliss, we are our first and last and best Valentine.
Yes.
And what does that mean? And how do you give yourself self-love? I mean, it's this topic that's talked about and thrown around all the time. And it's complex and it can look so many different ways. It might mean self-love. You're going back to therapy.
Yeah.
Right? You're going to deal with something. It might mean that you're, going to start exercising or going for walks again, right? Or picking up a hobby. Yeah, it might look many different ways. And how it might look is totally based on you and what you need, but really using the month to tune in and what is that need for yourself. And I've been thinking a lot about when you get into a marriage or when you get into a relationship, a lot of that focus turns away from you and onto your partner, onto the union, onto your children, onto your family.
Yeah.
And that's natural and that happens. But sometimes we need to refocus and recenter on self. And that's what I think February means to me.
So I was actually talking to my mom yesterday about how like I catch myself getting into a state of only caring about Galileo and like literally nothing or no one else, not me, not Zach, not politics, not if the sun's gonna rise tomorrow, no one.
Nothing
I'm like
matters.
my
Just
daughter, and
my
that
daughter.
is it. And how like finding that rebalance, and I need to rebalance, and it's just perfect timing because I'm gonna follow your theory about like Valentine's Day, and like you need to give yourself a little love, and you need to like fill your cup in order to fill others' cups.
Absolutely.
And it's something that like people, I feel like it's easier for people to be like, oh yeah, I love myself, like I love myself, but do you love yourself? Like what are you doing to take care of yourself? Like what are you doing to love yourself? And are you taking the time to self-reflect, to discover what it is that you need?
Yes, that tuning in part.
Yeah.
Because as humans, tuning in can feel uncomfortable because you're facing yourself. And we're complex, right? We love so much about ourselves, but we also dislike so much about ourselves. That's very human. That is a universal experience. So tuning in might bring up some of that stuff, right? And so I feel like tuning in is accepting your stuff, accepting I'm not perfect, accepting this might be what I need to get out of this rut that I'm in, or follow this dream that I've been pushing down inside me because I feel like I'm not good enough, which is something I deal with. But yeah.
And when you recognize that it is uncomfortable, then your desire is to make that comfortable. And there might be many uncomfortable moments, like looking in the mirror. Will there be a day that you can look in the mirror and see who you are and love that person, even with those flaws?
Yeah.
And on your journey to looking in the mirror and seeing those flaws, it's okay. See those flaws, and then you'll see them less and less, because really you want to get to who you really are, right? It's not about your wrinkles or a pimple or a darkened part of your face or whatever, or your hairstyle.
It's about your heart,
who you really are,
your soul. Yeah.
Right? Because I think that ultimately, life loves you. Life loves each person, and we each deserve that love because we exist.
Yeah.
And even like kind of going back to what you were saying about going to school, I didn't like that, even as a middle school teacher, because I didn't like how I saw some girls feel in a negative emotion, like at school. Then that's when I thought with Tatiana, I didn't want it to make or break
my little
her.
sister.
Yeah, if she didn't get flowers or a teddy bear, balloons. So that's when I told her dad, you need to show up every Valentine's and shower her with gifts, so that when she does get those flowers, if she ever did, she wouldn't go weak in the knees and be like all about this other person. And I think that's what I tried to ward off, is having that icky feeling of, oh, those girls got flowers and I didn't, or oh, those girls have a boyfriend and they're lucky. Do you know what I mean? And I've shared that with other dads. Show up with flowers. And one year, and I'm gonna try to not let this make me cry, but one year she got flowers and candy and balloons from her dad. And when she read the card, he said he was proud of her, and that's when she cried. And I let him know that. Like, say a little bit more of that. Do that a little bit more, because I love you is I love you. Yes. But sometimes saying love in a way that I'm proud of you is a beautiful thing.
And that's even like, you can turn that on yourself, right? Like you're talking about like accepting those different parts of you, like being proud of yourself, telling yourself that. The path to loving yourself is, in my mind, it goes accept yourself, like yourself, love yourself. Because sometimes it's not, people just can't go straight to loving themselves.
That's
Exactly.
a nice,
Too
I
much,
like
you
that.
know?
I like those tiers.
Yes.
Just kind of getting to that level, because it won't, sometimes it won't work, right? If you're like straight into like, I love myself, I love it, it doesn't resonate. It doesn't,
Yeah.
it feels so uncomfortable
Yeah.
that
Yep.
you can't get there, that you're too, it's just too hard, and you just stop doing it.
Yep.
And even as an adult woman, there is times when Valentine's Day feels weird. Like you were saying, like you told some of your friends that like, hey, like Valentine's Day, my favorite holiday. And they're like, what? Like, why? Like, what is going on with
Valentine's
that?
Day.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
what?
Why?
Why is that? Why, what in our culture, right? And it is that comparison, you know, like you're saying, there is societal things, you know, schools do Valentine grams, they do things. I remember receiving a bunch and giving a bunch to friends, you know, so there's definitely a component of that starts early. But what about, you know, I just think about, what about taking our daughters or our sons to go pick out their own flowers?
Right.
Or to, right? What do you like? What flower do you like? Do you know what flower your 5-year-old child likes? They might not like what you like.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
This can start,
Love
you
that.
know,
Exciting,
young.
too.
And I still to this day buy myself flowers, you know, and I think it's just an act of that self love. What do you call that, Bliss? Your funnel? I'm not sure.
Yeah, your self-love funnel, your
It's
self-love
love
journey, your
journey,
self-love,
continuum.
Self-loving. You know, like when you have you're loving on someone else, you're self-loving. You're loving on yourself.
And it's not a love that's selfish, right? It's not a vain love. It's not I'm better than you love. It's a love that is genuine and kind and being selfish in a way that is good, right? Without that negative connotation.
Yeah.
How dare you buy yourself a gift? Do you know what I mean?
It's
I
I'm
give
one of a
myself gifts
kind.
all the time. Zach's probably like, Bliss, we could have bought a house by now. I'm like, oh, but like I have this ring that says Galileo's name on it, and I love it. So, you know, we're talking about all of like these societal pressures, and really what that comes down to me when I'm like sitting here analyzing it is comparison.
That's a component.
That's a component of
Definitely.
it. I don't have what they have. I don't have what I think I should have. I don't have what this perfect person I think has. And that's really like another big key thing for self-love. And
Or maybe what social media shows.
Or what social media
your
shows.
husband or your boyfriend should do
Yeah,
for you.
Right.
They have to buy 1 million balloons and have, you know, $100 bills
Little heart
origami into roses.
Roses.
And Louis Vuitton bags
Exactly.
and Prada boxes.
Petals
and,
of flowers bursting through the door when you open it.
yeah, it's just this unrealistic view, you know, of what giving and loving and showing that is.
Yeah. And even if you do see that on social media, like I can promise you that couple has had an argument, had a problem, just like every other couple in the world. And
Absolutely.
some people thrive off of, and I'm not saying this is true of everyone, especially like Chelsea and I both have relationships that are in the public eye. Like I'm not saying that like there's not real love with people that are couples that are in a public eye, but if they're showing all of this on social media, sometimes it's because they feel like that's where they get their worth. That's where they get their value. They need to show that their relationship is perfect or amazing, or look what I got for Valentine's Day, so that I can feel good about my relationship, or I can feel good about myself.
And those are all external, right?
Those are external things. And Valentine's Day, you guys didn't know this, but it can bring up like all these topics, right? Like all these different things. Like,
So much.
I'm thinking about all these college and high school girls are like, I have to land somebody by the 14th.
Right.
You know?
Or like you
in
hide away.
January,
You know,
right, or
I
you hide
remember
away.
one time like this was before my self-love journey, before I kind of like switched my paradigm and started like loving myself. But I remember like feeling I had to like hide away on the 14th, you know, like because everyone was like out with their boyfriends and I was like alone. I had to like go in my dorm room and like sit alone and like lock the door and like watch some TV. And like I was fine, but I just felt like people would be like looking at me and judging me, and like it was a weird thing. So kind of like following a little bit back up, I just want to make sure that we touch on this a little bit more, about your like journey of loving Valentine's Day. Like when did that start? When did that, like, what inspired that?
I think it started when I was in my single era. It really started when I was in my single era. And I think there's also a component to unpacking Valentine's Day that's about, you know, joy in, being a woman and celebrating that. And, many women reach out to me and said, Chelsea, because of you, I now embrace pink in my life again. And whoa, why is it making me emotional? And I shoved that down in my in myself for so long, because I was in a relationship that taught me I couldn't be like that, because I had, societal things telling me that I couldn't be like that, or I just forgot that I loved the girly things. And what is that called, you guys, when it's people decorate for joy? There's a total term for it. Yes. There's a decorate for joy term, and that is something that I do feel that, the Valentine's Day, can bring out. There's the pink and the hearts and the bows, and it's just a very, it's an easy time to decorate your space, to make it, how you want, to love what you're looking at, love your little throw pillows and blankets. And I don't know, there's just a component of that. So I think that's I was like, oh, Valentine's Day excites me when I'm single, because I get to have this joy decor and I get to really focus on me. But I really think that I was single and I was like, okay, it's coming up and you have a choice. And I was definitely in this self-love era. I mean, before I went on Love is Blind, I was at the peak of my single womanhood and in my like personal journey. I mean, like, I was untouchable. Like, I was just so happy being single.
Yeah.
And I truly, I wasn't always like that. I was sad. I had many lonely nights. I cried myself to sleep many times. I worried if I was ever going to find a partner or have a child or, have this family and this life that I dreamed of, right? When you're single and you're in your 30s, it's so tough to like combat all those thoughts. And I had a choice. And I remember thinking to myself, you can be really sad. If you want to, I'll give you the option, right? I'll give you the permission.
Right. Love it.
And I think maybe one of the first years that I was single for Valentine's Day, I was sad.
Yeah.
And then the next year I was like, I'm not feeling any sadness in my life. I mean, like, I did a lot of work on myself to where I was very secure with myself and being single. And that was the first year that I was like, nope, I'm making myself my own meal. I'm going out and buying myself a little treat. I'm getting flowers. I'm getting balloons. I'm doing the whole thing for myself. And it was a really beautiful thing. And I think that more people can, understand that that's available to them too.
Yeah.
Did you like get with your friends and have like a Galentine's? Did you
Nope.
ever do anything?
No,
like
Galentine's is great, and I think that's awesome. But I think, the Galentine's and the decor, yeah, that's a little more of like the, how do we say, just the modern media kind of trendy, thank you, like trendy thing. And I think that's really, yeah, we didn't have Galentine's back when we were a kid. That wasn't a thing.
I was on a movie and I was like, ooh.
But Galentine's is a beautiful thing. And
It
I think
is.
I see it as women empowering and loving on each other.
Me too.
And
having these conversations like we are.
yes.
No
You know what?
judgment, No judgment.
You know what?
when you give yourself
I did
flowers.
go to Galentine's parties. Thank you. I just remembered. Yes, I went to some Galentine's parties and we did like an intimate exchange of gifts. And it was so fun. We had pink themed related foods and drinks. I mean, it really was a very, very special event. And I loved the little exchange aspect of it.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. And so that's, that plays into it for sure, but really honing in, kind of on self. And being married, I need to remind myself to do that. And so regardless. And I woke up today and I was like, first of all, we got through January, which
longest month of the year.
Everyone give yourself a pat on the back for getting through January, please.
That month.
It is.
It is.
Ugh.
It's
It's a big
hard.
reset.
It's hard for so many reasons. But I woke up today and I was like, oh, it's February 1st. What can I do to myself? What do I need today? Like tuning in. And I think, we get so busy with our life, with work, with our children, with our stressors. And so asking yourself, making a time to pause and maybe just starting there.
I love that.
Oh my gosh.
What do I need
so
today?
poetic.
And sometimes what you need is a cry.
Yes.
Sometimes what you need is
Absolutely.
to and be upset
ugly.
and then cleanse and purge.
Yes.
And sometimes it's okay. It doesn't have to be something that it needs to feel authentic to you. And it has to be, it doesn't have to be like any examples that we're giving about going to get yourself flowers. Sometimes you do need that, but sometimes you allow yourself space to have those things that you really actually need, because that is another part of loving yourself.
Exactly.
Is giving yourself what you need.
Yeah, it does not look any certain way. It does not need to.
It does
And
not
that's
need to
a
look
gift
any
to
certain
yourself,
way.
to purge. And that doesn't make you less than. And I spoke to someone a couple of years ago and they're like, cry in the shower. And I'm like, ooh, that's a good idea.
Wait, you never did that? I feel
You
like I've
know?
done that since I was a child. No,
Wash
I
everything.
a shower is when I am stressed the heck out. A hot shower is does it for me.
Soothing,
It's so
yeah.
soothing. And yeah, you just cry. You're crying in the shower. I remember actually, this is funny.
Oh no.
So
I have a feeling it's going to be something about
So Chris, Love is Blind, the creator, he walked me out after Zach broke up with me. And he was like, thank you so much for taking this experience authentically. And I was like,
She means that he walked her off, out of the pods.
yeah, out of the pods into the van to go
back home.
Yeah. And he was like, thank you for taking this experience so seriously and being authentic with it. And he gave me a really sweet dad hug. And then I was like, I'm going to go cry in the shower.
Did you?
He's like, go cry in the shower. I was like, yeah, I'm going to go take a shower and cry. And he was like, okay, you do that.
And it's not like you're trying to hide away. It's just
No,
such a
it's
wonderful
just
place
it's
to
a
just
place.
be.
It's like I feel like I'm in a spa or something.
Yeah.
That's as close as I can
Like
get
a
to
cave,
a spa.
like a cave.
When I'm
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
It's just a place.
LOL, that's so funny.
Yeah.
Just reminded me that I haven't thought about that in forever.
So if you need to cry in the shower, cry in the shower.
Cry in the shower.
It's a safe place, right?
Yeah,
You can do your thing.
and you can wash your face
you can
after,
wash your face
and
and
you don't
just
need
feel all brand new.
Yeah, it feels great. You
Well-
just walk out a new person. Go in the shower, one person, walk out another.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, just cleanse yourself, right?
Yeah.
No pun intended. Well, I love, Chelsea, how you said, even if you're in a relationship, right?
Mm-hmm.
Giving yourself something doesn't make it less than.
Especially if you're in a relationship.
Right.
Ooh,
Not even.
Especially.
And, a couple of years I was reading the best thing that you can ask your partner is, how can I love you more? And so I tried it out on my fiance. How can I love you more? And he asked me, we asked each other. And he's like, oh, you're going to say jewelry and dinners. And I'm like, no, actually, I'm going to say, keep loving yourself more, because then I get all the goodies.
But also yes
Right?
to the jewelry and dinner.
Okay, yeah, that's the extra stuff that I'm not going to say no
I'm
to.
just kidding.
But, and with that said, if you truly, and we're never finished, there's always more. And that's what I say. There's more. If we love ourselves, we'll never hurt ourselves or anyone else. So every time, we come together, or once a month or whatever, how can I love you more? And I told him my answer will always be the same. Keep loving yourself. Keep loving yourself.
I want to spin that a little bit.
Spin it.
And as you're checking in, what do I need today? Ask yourself, how can I love you more?
That's a definitely.
I think that
I
is
love
a,
it.
is a good way to,
Yes, to build that.
yes, do that with your partner, but do that
it
with yourself too.
Yes.
So,
Agreed.
Chels, how do you find, I feel like we've kind of talked a little bit to the single people. Let's talk to some of the people that are in relationships. And because a lot of people that are in relationships are still struggling with self-love and love. How do you find that time for you? Like, how do you be purposeful about making that space for you?
It's really hard. Like, I'm still learning this every day, being married.
I appreciate you saying that, because I am too. Like, it's not like we have all the answers.
Nope.
No.
I do not have all the answers. I am not an expert on any of this. I am flawed. I have parts about myself that I don't love. But yet. Thank you. That I don't love yet. Or that I don't understand. I don't, maybe don't love isn't the right? Like, there's parts, maybe I don't understand it.
Exactly.
And that's okay.
Well, I'm going to pop in for something, because this morning I woke up and I was reading some passages, and it said, truly the person that loves themselves puts themselves first. If you're busy, society has taught women your worth is in how much you do all day.
Oh, gosh.
But it's
how busy
hard.
You are.
Yeah.
If you're overloaded and you work 100 hours a week and there's only 5 hours in a week, I'm just saying. If you do that 100,
and you've done everything for everyone else in your household,
exactly.
And you're like dragging.
But like you even said, we have to love ourselves, right? And you're teaching your baby that.
I know.
So you have to mirror that.
I know.
Yeah.
It's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, I do.
No, but by you loving yourself, mirrors that to her.
Well, it's a realization that I kind of came to yesterday, that I need to find that balance, or else it's not going to go well for me. And I can't love Galileo in the way that she deserves to be loved, or Zach, if I'm not like doing what I need to do for myself. But I want to fall back.
Yeah,
up
I don't know. Yes. I'm still trying to figure out what that means. I was reading something that was like, it's much harder to work on yourself and tune into yourself when you are coupled. And so I don't know. I don't have any answers. I think sometimes when we might have, an argument or something rise up, or I'm just not feeling like I'm having a good day, like taking a pause and letting Kwame know, like, I might need some time with myself to figure out what I'm feeling today or what I need. So I think there are certain things and certain opportunities when we are coupled that might allow us to like see ourselves and like tune in, but you really have to be intentional in those other times when things are going really great. And I'm a giver. Like I would die for someone. Like I do everything to a fault. Like I am such a giver, but I can give and I can give and I can give, and I will be empty. And it is something that I work on every day.
You got to save some for yourself.
You have to save some for yourself. But sometimes my husband will receive, and I do feel like he's not a receiver of like, gimme everything of you. He's a very gentle receiver.
Like a passive receiver.
Yeah.
He's not like requiring it of you.
No. Sometimes he's like, Chelsea, like, you're doing the most. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like I can take a breath. I can, this is kind of a funny story, and something that I thought about is I love to cook Kwame breakfast. I love to cook food. Like cooking and feeding you good things is one of my
a good cook too.
Thank you. One of my love languages. Okay, so I will like toast bread and like prepare all this. Anyways, I always give my husband like the better half, or like the more buttered bread, or like just the better one. And one day I was like, Chelsea, you're giving it to yourself.
Yay!
And like it was the smallest little thing. The smallest little thing. And you know what? He wouldn't even notice anyway.
It's true.
Thank you.
And I gave myself the better piece of bread. But it felt awkward to me because it almost felt like I was being
selfish.
Yeah. Like I was being selfish or sneaky about something, or not giving my partner like the best, because like that's what I want to give him. And so I started giving myself the better piece of toast. And
he, like you said, he wouldn't have known any different.
Nope. But it's finding those small ways that you are giving so much of yourself and just taking a moment and giving it back and seeing how it lands. It might like not land or be like, oh, this was cool, but I didn't like really, I didn't really feel, didn't fill me up, or it didn't, translate in the way that I wanted it to. But it's just having that awareness, because you can't just boom, snap your finger and I love myself, or now that I'm in this relationship, I can, work on myself every day and journal and do whatever you do. Like, it's hard. It's much harder. So get creative. Listen in the moment and get creative. I guess that's my...
I love that. And thank you for
too,
sharing that. It's so funny because I know that Zach always gives me the better slice.
Always.
The better this, the better that. And I always give myself the better one. But then I started giving him the better one.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like,
That's so interesting.
isn't that weird?
Is that why we're friends?
I was just going to say, that might be why. That might be why we work.
Oh my. Wait.
Isn't that hilarious?
That is so funny because I was connecting with Chelsea.
Oh my gosh. See, I'm
I can see that. I can see that about you.
Kids and my fiance.
Yeah.
And then I started saying, the power of the cook gets to choose the better one, and you won't even know it. So I started doing that as a spin to give myself.
Because you're the ultimate,
when I serve my children, I give them always the best.
Christy and I are at the beginning kind of phases of our marriages. Chelsea has Kwame, I have Zach and a baby, and you have 4 grown children. You've been through your marriages. You've been in this place of even like in a different part of society, or not different time of society rather, where the expectation of the woman was even more so like the responsibility was on you for like maybe everyone's happiness that could take
traditional
away from traditional. And you were a stay-at-home mom for many years, which I loved. But how did you find time? And if you didn't find time, what advice would you give to women kind of in your scenario, or just women in general, with all of your kind of knowledge and wisdom and experiences?
Well, I think, like you said, taking that shower. If I can take a shower and have some me time, find pockets of time, even like you said, give yourself the better piece. No one will know, and embrace it, right? So taking those little tiny steps, little steps at a time. Of course, when I was younger, this didn't exist, right?
What do you mean?
It didn't exist about self-love. My mom didn't teach me.
Well, maybe
her
it
mom didn't teach
existed,
her.
but it wasn't like...
It existed, but it wasn't like something we talked about. It was because
it was probably stigmatized, right?
Especially being raised in a very strict Catholic home, to self-love, to be selfish, to think of yourself first. You would be judged, and it's a sin. And so that was sort of like the umbrella that I was raised, right?
Yeah, focusing on self as a moral, aspect is definitely of, I think, today's generation.
Right. For sure. So, and I always tried to foster my relationship with your dad, to go out on dates, and we did those kinds of things, but it was never about self.
Like, you were never taking yourself out on dates?
No, never.
Yeah.
I remember I never went to the movie by myself, and you would encourage me to do that, and find company. Find that I was my own good company. When we talked about that, you can be alone without being lonely, and I can be my own best friend because I know what I like. And I love that you said something about your inner child. I will take my inner child out on dates now. And I think that's why
that can be the best Valentine's date, is your inner child.
Inner child.
No judgment. What do you want? And I think that's why I connected with my kids so much, because my inner child was raising them because I was allowed to be a kid again with my own kids.
Yeah.
See what I mean?
Yep.
But I think maybe that's a way that I had my self-love, was by playing with my kids. My kids played hooky a lot, and we would have play dates. The whole day would be a play date, and we would have fun. So maybe that was the way I was filling my bucket. But I think you can find ways, like with Galileo making mud pies. That could be like a self-care, right? Doing something that that you both enjoy doing together, creating. That's why I like to do arts and crafts and all that fun stuff, because that can be like a way of self-love. And there's really no limit, right? There's no limit. But I think you must be mindful today. I would say be mindful of taking those moments to be who you are, because you can lose sight of that, right? Really quickly. And genuine self-love starts with, hey, wait a minute, I need to be first. I need to serve myself first. And only then can I fill everybody else's bucket.
And one thing that resonated in what you just said was, and what I heard was, sometimes we need someone to hold us accountable. So Bliss, maybe it's incorporating Zach and holding you accountable to go get your nails done, or go to your hair appointment, or getting a massage, or, going for a walk, or doing, holding your partner, telling them like, this is, I'm not going to do this on my own. I'm going to need a little push in the right direction for that.
Or even a close friend.
Or a close friend.
You hold each other accountable.
Yes.
That are not in relationships.
Absolutely. Celebrating when you guys did something for yourself. And, absolutely, when you have a child, your love and your giving is absolutely on mega high. Right?
Yes.
I love
And
that.
and and as it should.
Yeah.
Until you feel empty, right? Needing to refill and recharge. And I think there's an ebb and flow. I'm not a parent. I just know a lot of them. And I've taken a lot of parenting classes and in my early childhood, background. But yeah, there's going to be ebbs and flows as a mother. And that's also what I heard you say. But Bliss was, sometimes holding you accountable to like, Mom, go to the movie by yourself.
Maybe write down like, these are the things that I do to make myself feel good.
Yes.
Right.
And if you look at them once a week and you realize you haven't done these in days or weeks or whatever it is.
Months,
like,
years.
Yep. Like,
do a check-in.
Get back in there.
Yeah.
And loving yourself. Because finding like your relationship and your person and your the love of your life and all of that is so wonderful and special, and can be, with the right person, it can be so empowering. But that's not going to fix you. That's not going to change any struggles that you have.
Right.
It's actually just going to make them
it's going to make it worse.
Bigger.
Yeah.
That's not going to grow you
It's gonna make it
intrinsically.
worse.
Yeah.
Because like you think in your head, like, okay, well, if I have a boyfriend, I'll be happy. Like, if I get to have a husband, I'll be happy. If I have a baby, if I have the house, if I have the this, if I have that.
Yeah.
Then you get all of those things.
Yeah.
And you're like, wait.
You're still you.
I'm still, like, not happy. Or I'm still struggling with myself. Or I'm still not feeling worthy. Or I'm still not feeling X, Y, and Z. It's a journey. And I love for you that you were at the peak of your self-love before Love is Blind.
Yeah, me too.
Girl, that is like the universe aligned.
It really
so
did.
beautifully.
And I don't think I would have done it if I wasn't. Because I was
ready.
not, I wouldn't have been ready. I'm not a person that I would ever, be on TV or do something like this. And, it can be stressful. We're putting in, new situations. It's a lot.
It's a lot.
And people are like, wow, Chelsea, you connected yourself so well. And I was ready.
You were so ready. And I remember seeing you for the first time when we all flew to LA, and you just were like confident. You just had this confidence, this like, you knew who you were. You weren't there to get caught up in any BS. You were not there to like gossip, cause problems, create drama. Like, you were just like, look, I'm here to find my person. I love myself. I'm going to see if this works. And everything else is just noise. And that's one thing like that I really love and like admire about you. Like, you're very strong and steady for yourself.
That's very
like
nice.
it's we all get affected by things sometimes.
Yes.
Not to say that we're all human, and I want to give you space to be human and not like, I'm not.
Of course. No, I don't get that
like,
at all.
You are able to just like, you're really able to like tune out noise in a really powerful way.
Boundaries are really important.
Boundaries.
Learning
So
boundaries.
have you kind of always been that way?
No. I had to work on boundaries. Well, I don't think really my followers really know this, and I don't talk about my upbringing and my childhood often, but I actually put myself in therapy at 16.
Oh, wow.
Good for you. How cool.
Yeah, there was a lot going on, in my home life, and I always tell, this is my thing. You'll hear it from me. You'll hear it from me again. If the level of support that you need exceeds the level of support that you have in your life, it's time to seek help.
I love that.
Wow.
And
Say that again.
if the level of support that you need exceeds the level of support that you currently have,
Yes, beautiful.
right? You talk to your friend, you're not getting support. You talk to your parent, there's people in your life that are not emotionally available to support you, right? And I put myself in therapy at 16, and I learned so much, and I continued to go to therapy on and off for 10, 13, 14 years after that.
That's amazing.
Beautiful.
And it was a really, really beautiful and helpful thing for me. And I just, and so I think I learned a lot that way. I've also been raised by very strong, amazing, beautiful, and confident women. And I think that I have, part of why I am this confident is I do feel that I have been like passed down these traits almost like in my genes. Does that make sense?
Does, yeah.
I do think there's a lot to say about, familial and genealogy and all these things that make up who we are, our brain, our thoughts, ourselves, how we relate to the world, how we relate to others. And so it's funny because when people are like, you're so confident and you're so this, sometimes I feel like I can't take full ownership of that.
Because it's just like who you are, like in your blood.
It's who I am in my blood and my genes, but also like it was given to me and it was shown to me. Yes, like it was modeled to me. I have to carry it out, and it's my job to figure out what I want to do with that. But it was like a gift that my ancestors gave me. Like that is what I feel.
Yeah, and that's great because anyone that succeeds doesn't get there alone, right? We get there through other people, even if it's painful, right?
And I think we're always like, we tend to focus, at least like the millennial and Gen Z generation, like on all the trauma that we've been gifted or given or bequeathed from our ancestors. And I think it's so beautiful that you're speaking to a gift that you were given.
That's
from
very
your
true. That hit me
ancestors.
really hard.
That's
Yeah,
so
they pass down a
refreshing.
lot.
I know it is.
That's true.
It is.
We don't think about it that way. We think about all the ways that, are hard for us or the patterns that we have, right? Yeah. What's something that you think that, your ancestors passed down to you that you're grateful for, and expressing gratitude for that and for them? One of my favorite books ever is The Red Tent. Have you guys read The Red Tent?
What is it?
The Red Tent.
No.
Oh my gosh. Well, it's been many years. I need to read it again. But it really highlights a lot of this generational, familial, woman empowerment and kind of that love of your ancestors and connection with them. So maybe we should all read The Red Tent. And my aunt, I have many aunts and they're amazing and they've created and helped shape who I am. And one of my aunts told me to read that book. And I was young. I think I was in like middle school.
Oh, wow. Wow.
And it's centered around menstruation. And I forget if it's in where it takes place, but it's in like a rural country. Anyways, I'm sorry if you know The Red Tent, and if I'm botching it, I don't mean to. It's a amazing book. And so we should read it and report back.
I would love to do that.
Me too. I'm all about that.
Yeah.
And I also really want to read more. It's something that is on my 2025 list. Reading is not something that I find as relaxing or enjoying.
It's one of those things where you gotta find something that's like good to read, this actually interests you, because sometimes there's a lot of books out there that are for one person and not for another, and that's okay. Yeah.
Well, it's funny, it's ironic that I was talking to my mom this morning, and I was asking about my grandmother, and I said, she was a bit of a spitfire, because I see that I have a bit of a spitfire. Bliss has a bit of a spitfire. And then we see Addie.
Oh,
and she has that spitfire too.
Niece.
See?
So it is in our DNA.
It is in our DNA.
Like it's in ourselves
Yeah,
that we, and I kind of
It is.
do like a mini celebration
Yeah.
inside. I love that my mom's mom was a bit of a spitfire back in the, during the days of the depression.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about that, and how she was a bit of a spitfire. So I love that, and we see it in Addie.
Yeah.
And we want her to be that way. It's like, how are we going to celebrate Galileo? She has a bit of that little spitfire in her.
I think she does. She's
and
very
we
strong-willed.
celebrate that. Be loud, be proud,
especially as a
be
girl,
you.
as a
Especially
little
as a
girl. Like you're not, I don't know, taking charge and being strong, and it's okay to not always be strong, but to have that, I'm happy that she has that, because she's going to be able to protect herself and stand up for herself,
right,
more naturally than maybe someone who isn't born with that spitfireness or whatever you want to call it.
I know, and she'll see it. She'll see that we're like that.
Yeah,
and there's a time and a place for it. And like you
course.
said, there is something so beautiful about being vulnerable. We talked about that. Like you said, we don't always have to be strong.
Sometimes being vulnerable with yourself can be like the scariest, hardest thing. It can be harder to be vulnerable with your or easier to be vulnerable with your therapist or a friend or a partner or a mentor than being vulnerable with yourself, because no one knows you better than yourself. No one knows your deepest, darkest challenges,
Right,
your happiest, greatest thoughts more than you.
That is true.
And that can be a part of, the tears, as you called it, of self-love.
Of self-love.
Yeah, I love that.
Like, maybe before acceptance, take it even like at a more base level and be like, even though it's a base level, it's probably maybe one of the hardest parts of it. Like, be vulnerable with yourself. Like,
Awareness.
Just that deep self-reflection. Like, do I know myself? Because the person that when you love yourself, that also means you know yourself, and that you like that, and that you accept that.
Right.
And so that getting to know yourself, and Valentine's Day can always be that for you. You can make that day of getting to know myself, treating myself, loving myself, whether you're in a relationship, whether you're not, whether you're 95, whether you're 14 years old, and anywhere in between and outside of that, it can be a time for you to love yourself. And love is not easy.
It's not sometimes.
It's not easy to be in a relationship. It can be easy and fun, but there's going to be challenges with that. And I believe on the path to loving yourself, it's also not going to be easy. There also are going to be challenges, and it takes a lot of bravery to actually take the steps to do it. But oh my gosh, it is so worth it.
It is so worth it.
Like when you were saying, like
it is so worth it.
It's so worth it. Like you had to go through that to get where you were in a place to go on Love is Blind, to then fall in love and be with
to be ready
to
receive somebody.
Yeah, you had to do that.
Oh yeah, I had to do that a couple of times, and the thing too is that I read that love is more than an emotion and a feeling. Love is like pure consciousness, knowing who you are, who you really are, and on that molecular DNA level that we are all connected. And love is like never ending, right?
It's literally never ending.
It's never ending.
Like you can love everyone else and also still love yourself.
Exactly.
It doesn't take away.
It doesn't take away.
Loving yourself, which I kind of have been like struggling with a little bit. Like, how do I love myself? And I don't want that to take away from Galileo. Like, how do I, it's like finding that balance, but it truly is like an infinite resource.
Infinite resource, right. Never ending.
Truly.
Even you talked about like, I told you my experience of having Annalie, my oldest, and then having you guys, and it was like, where's that love going to come from?
Do I
Am
have
I
it
gonna
in
love
me?
them?
I'm terrified
Am I
to
gonna
have
love
a
them
child.
just so we talked about that.
Like,
with
That's
guys.
a very phenomenon.
Yeah.
Like, am I going to love her more?
I don't want Galileo
Yeah.
to feel less love. That's I know I'm gonna love that other child. I don't want her to feel less love. It's like terrifying.
Yeah. And again, and that's a very valid thing to feel.
It is. It's
And then it comes.
unknown, right?
It comes. You don't know where it comes from, but it comes. And it's a beautiful thing.
And it's not like one day you wake up and you're like, okay, I love myself. I did it. I'm here.
No.
I'm done.
I've arrived.
If it were that easy, right?
It's like you're a
were that
human
easy.
and you're
Yep.
gonna make a mistake again.
Yep.
You're gonna have to then
yeah.
accept a new part of you that you don't initially love.
It's any progress forwards or backwards.
That's right.
And I think for me, like when I do that trip and fall on my self-love journey, it's like, okay, you fell. Get yourself up, embrace it. Did you learn from it? We can. It gets a little bit easier.
Give
And I was
yourself
gonna say,
a
it can be, it can get easier,
and it's actually kind of fun. I think it's.
Yeah.
It can be like a fun journey, you know, and I've done that even recently. I kind of fell and tripped, and I was like, wait a minute. Hey, guess what? That's okay. You fell and you tripped. Is it over? No, there's more. And I got through that. And when you get through those hard times and you come out even better, you're like, yes, that's the goal, right?
Giving ourselves grace is like growing a muscle.
Oh,
Yes.
And it's a really hard muscle to grow.
Yeah.
And I
And you have to be
work
consistent.
on my inner thoughts all the time. And I
Yes.
still have moments where I'm like, girl, what the fuck?
Like, where did that come
You're
from?
like, wait.
I know. I do that too.
Like, you know who you are. Look in the damn mirror.
yeah.
You
yeah,
know?
Yes.
But there are days where I don't feel confident. I don't
Yes.
feel powerful.
Yes.
I do have insecurities. Because I'm human.
Because you're human.
And we all do.
And
we
I
all
can
do.
give myself a hug. Like, I actually have, like, I think visualizations are really important. And like you were just saying, when you have your trip and fall, right? When you try something or you fail or you just don't feel like, you know, it landed, like I visualize giving myself a hug. And sometimes I will actually, I will actually do that.
Yes.
You know, and it's like a beautiful moment because we all say like, give ourselves grace, give yourself grace. It's just so much easier said than done. But sometimes those little visualizations or things that you can think about in the moment to just like stop the negative thought, you know, help.
I love that.
I love
you know,
that too.
during COVID, I couldn't hug my students, you know, so I would teach them to give themselves a hug. And the research said that when you hug yourself, your body thinks that somebody else is hugging it.
Oh.
You know, your brain doesn't realize that
So the
you're the one.
oxytocin
I love
release
that.
Right? Like, it feels like if
everything.
I'm hugging you. I've read that women need more touches
Yes.
throughout their life.
I've read
They
that
need
as
more
well.
hugs and loves and rubs.
Yes. Physical touch is a very
Physical touch.
healing. It actually like changes our brain chemistry.
Okay, so you know, there's all this talk about like love languages and what are your love languages, and I think that's important to understand those about yourself and your partner. But like, I challenge everyone, myself, Chelsea, you, mom, everyone listening, like turn your main love language into loving yourself.
Love it.
Like that is who you have, you know, like that's who you have. And boyfriends, girlfriends, friends come and go. Jobs come and go. Like put your worth and your value not into if you have a date on Valentine's Day, not into if you're married yet or engaged yet or whatever
Or
your
have a boyfriend
situation
or
is.
girlfriend.
Yeah. Like put that worth into I am worthy because I am worthy, period.
Love it.
Easier said than done, but
Give it a try.
give
Give it a try. Yep.
Listen to the tips that we've shared. Like honestly, like we are sitting here humbly still on our journey.
Still
Yes.
on our
It
journey.
is never done.
It's never done, but we are better than we were a decade ago. And I can
Definitely.
speak for all of us.
Yes.
And when you love yourself, like everything else, like really truly falls into place.
Yes.
Everything.
That's one of my
Everything.
favorite quotes of all
Getting those
time.
green lights falls. Everything falls.
I think it is what was it? Loving yourself is the frequency that attracts everything you want.
Ooh.
Oh, I need to
Well,
make that a billboard.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I used to have quotes
Can we do that?
all over my apartment, and that was one. And I would switch them out based on how I was feeling, what I was going through. And that's one that I loved having up all the time.
I love that.
And you have nothing to lose and everything to gain.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So just give it a try.
Right? It's worth it. You're worth it. And there's this whole like beautiful experience that you can have if you love and like your
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you for having me. I adore both of you. And Kit, I think you are an amazing, amazing woman and mother and role model and mentor. And I think people come in to our lives, and the way I always see it, as angels. And Bliss came into my life as an angel.
Yes.
And that's a very special thing that I want to acknowledge. And thank you for raising an angel. One of my angels.
Like, honestly, like, you're my angel. And like, I always say that, like, and it's so cliche, but the pods like gave me more than just like my like husband, my partner. Like, they give me love in so many other ways.
It's a gift.
And it's a gift.
The friendship that was gained from that experience is a gift.
It's a gift, truly. And it's something that we would have never had if we didn't go through that together.
Nope. So, like, you know, take a risk and you might get a gift back that you're not expecting.
Yeah, more than
Absolutely. And the husband and the marriage isn't the end all be all. You know, that's a lovely thing that I hope happens to everyone that wants it. But you have different kinds of love in your life. Friendship love, parental love, brother, sister, sibling love, love of your pets, that self-love that I'm going to keep on bringing it back to. And it's beautiful. And yeah, it's a special, special, special thing to be able to have love of all kinds in your life.
Well, we will be back. We'll do this again.
Yes, we will.
Let us know if you loved it.
Yes, if you loved it.
Put us, and celebrate you on Valentine's Day.
Yes,
take yourself on a
please
date.
do.
Make yourself your favorite meal.
Or
Or drink. You know, I get myself a little treat sometimes when I'm having a bad day. Like, if you're a quote unquote not with someone, I'm not going to use the word alone because you can be your own best company, like you were saying. It's okay. Turn this into a powerful day, like our beautiful pink princess Chelsea does.
That we adore.
Turn it into a day of empowering yourself and see what happens. See the change that will surely come in your life.
Yeah, and just be wondering and be willing to ask yourself, what was it like?
Yeah, I love that.
Yay!
Cheers.
Cheers!
With our pink drink.
With our pink dreams. Yay!